How to get federal voting rights legislation over the finish line. Voting rights activists have tried just about everything. They've marched, they've rallied, they've prayed, they've fasted, but nothing has worked so far. So the question now is, what is the plan as the midterms are fast approaching? Marcus Batchelor is the Deputy Director of Leadership Programs for People for the American Way, and he's in D.C. this morning. Okay, Marcus, let me ask you, what you gonna do now?
Yeah, well, we keep up the fight. That is priority one, to continue to pressure at the federal level, to continue to demonstrate to our leaders in Washington, but also folks across the country, how sinister these attacks are on the right to vote, and show the folks who allowed this vote to fail the first time that there are consequences for their inaction. Part two of that is to do what we were going to do anyway, which is to make sure that we fight these suppression laws at every level by just making sure that we educate, register, and mobilize as many voters in the 2022 midterm that'll give us the type of leadership both at the state level, but also in the United States Senate that'll support voting rights the next time around.
Have you given up on the feds? There's no path forward for federal voting rights legislation. The Democrats just don't have the votes. Manchin and Sinema have not changed their position since the beginning of summer. And now, as they say, so here we are.
Yeah, that's true. But what we see is that a majority of voters, both in Arizona and in West Virginia, support the passage of these pieces of legislation. And we'll work with our partners, our coalition partners in both of those states to continue to keep pressure up to get the Freedom to Vote Act passed, or individual provisions that beat back some of the very specific attacks we're seeing at the state level. So we're not giving up on our federal strategy, but we know that there's broader work that we have to do to make sure that as many folks who are eligible to vote get to the polls and make their voices heard on this and a host of other critical issues in the midterms.
Marcus, where are the young people on this? I heard a pundit over the weekend talking about the Vietnam War and pointing out that as long as the debate involved people on Capitol Hill, nothing was happening. But when students decided to demonstrate, decided to sit in, decided to protest, decided to boycott classes, decided to do things that really cost their parents money, all of a sudden they got the attention of Washington, and Washington changed. Where is the student energy on the issue of voting rights legislation?
Yeah, the lucky part about this fight and what makes me and so many others so optimistic is that we've been able to build an intersectional coalition of women's rights activists and clergy, voting rights activists, organizers, and those have included such an energetic group of our students. Among the hundreds that got arrested outside the White House and in front of the Capitol over the summer and fall, included so many students, including Dr. King's 13-year-old granddaughter who led a group of students in protest. I joined a group of students who were on day 8 of a hunger strike at the Capitol the day after the vote failed. So students are at the center of this fight because they know that the democracy that they want to inherit is on the line. So they're at the center of this fight, and they'll continue to be. And that's what makes me most optimistic.
Joe Madison, and my friend and radio show host, often likes to tell his audience that the difference between a movement and a moment is sacrifice. He went on a hunger strike for 74 days. He had to break his fast. But when you see that energy, you see it in so many older Americans. There were a lot of younger people that joined him on the hunger strike, but a lot of people would say not enough.
Well, the work is much, and the laborers are sometimes feel like few. But on an issue like voting rights, we really saw a cross section of folks commit their time and energy, put their time and treasure on the line to make this work. There were thousands of people who marched, not just here in DC, but across the country, who called the White House and made the phone lines jam up, who called their members of Congress, who pressured them to do the right thing. That coalition of thousands exists still in this fight. And so we're really optimistic that folks will continue to do this as we see the real impact of these suppression laws across the states, right? 19 states, 34 laws across 19 states is just the beginning. we talk about legislation that's also being introduced this year in states across the country, I think more and more people will really get to see how critical this fight is and how fragile our democracy is. And more people will come to this fight. And I'm optimistic that we'll win it.
Marcus Batchelor is the Deputy Director of Leadership Programs at People for the American Way, frequent guest on the show. Marcus, thanks for being with us.